The broken windows theory is one of the most influential and controversial ideas in modern criminology and urban sociology. Its core premise is deceptively simple, yet its implications are profound. The theory suggests that visible signs of disorder, minor crime, and antisocial behavior in a neighborhood, like a broken window left unrepaired, creates an environment that encourages further, more serious crime. It's not just about the broken window itself, it's about the powerful signal it sends. That signal is one of neglect, a lack of care, and an absence of informal social control. When a broken window goes unfixed, it communicates to residents and potential offenders alike that no one is in charge, that no one cares what happens here. This perceived permissiveness lowers the psychological barriers to committing crime. A potential offender, seeing that minor vandalism is tolerated, may reason that other, more serious offenses might also go unchallenged.
The theory is, at its heart, about the psychology of public space and the powerful role of social norms in regulating behavior. The intellectual foundation for this idea is often traced to a 1969 experiment by psychologist Philip Zimbardo, who would later become famous for the Stanford prison experiment. Zimbardo abandoned two identical cars, one in a poor, high-crime neighborhood of the Bronx and the other in an affluent, low-crime area of Palo Alto, California. The car in the Bronx was stripped and vandalized within hours by what appeared to be random passers-by. The car in Palo Alto remained untouched for over a week. Then, Zimbardo himself took a sledgehammer and damaged the Palo Alto car. Soon after this deliberate act of vandalism, residents of that affluent community began to join in, systematically destroying the vehicle. The experiment suggested that the initial state of the environment triggered different behaviors.
In the Bronx, the existing climate of disorder invited more disorder. In Palo Alto, the pristine condition enforced conformity, until that signal was dramatically altered by the introduction of disorder, which then invited a shocking wave of copycat destruction. This concept was formally articulated as a theory in a 1982 article in The Atlantic Monthly by social scientists James Q. Wilson and George L. Kelling. They argued that policing should focus not just on serious crimes, but on maintaining order. They painted a vivid picture of a downward spiral. It starts with a single unrepaired broken window. This attracts more vandalism. The sense of decay grows. Residents, feeling less safe, begin to withdraw. They use public spaces less, they avoid eye contact, they stop chastising rowdy youth. This retreat weakens the informal community controls that are the first line of defense against crime. As law-abiding citizens withdraw, the space becomes more attractive to disorderly individuals.
Panhandlers become more aggressive, gangs may start to operate openly, and drug dealing can take root. The neighborhood signals that it is vulnerable, and those looking for opportunities to commit crime receive that signal loud and clear. The unchecked minor disorder becomes a catalyst for major crime. The theory found its most famous and consequential application in New York City during the 1990s. Police Commissioner William Bratton and Mayor Rudy Giuliani adopted broken windows as a central pillar of their policing strategy. The directive was clear. Police would now aggressively enforce laws against so-called quality-of-life offenses. This meant cracking down on fare evasion in the subway, public drinking, graffiti, aggressive panhandling, and prostitution. The logic was that by addressing these visible signs of disorder, they would reassert control, restore a sense of order, and prevent more serious crimes from occurring. The New York Police Department also implemented a data-driven system called CompStat, which held precinct commanders accountable for crime patterns in their areas, focusing intensely on minor offenses. The results coincided with a dramatic, unprecedented drop in crime rates in the city. Homicides, robberies, and auto thefts plummeted. Proponents of broken windows pointed to New York as undeniable proof of the theory's effectiveness, arguing that the relentless focus on order had created an environment where serious crime could not flourish. However, the apparent success in New York ignited a fierce and enduring debate. Critics argue that the correlation between the policing strategy and the crime drop is not definitive causation. They point out that crime rates fell dramatically across the entire United States during the 1990s, including in cities that did not adopt broken windows policing.
Other powerful factors were at play: a strong economy, the waning of the crack cocaine epidemic, changes in drug markets, and even the legalization of abortion 2 decades earlier, leading to fewer unwanted children entering high-risk environments. Skeptics asked, was New York's decline unique, or just part of a national trend? The statistical evidence remains hotly contested, making it difficult to isolate the pure effect of the broken windows approach. The most serious criticisms, however, are ethical and social. Opponents argue that broken windows policing inherently leads to discriminatory and aggressive practices. By targeting low-level offenses, which are ubiquitous, the strategy grants enormous discretion to individual police officers. This discretion, critics contend, is often exercised in a biased manner, disproportionately targeting minority communities, the homeless, and other marginalized groups.
The practice of stop and frisk, which escalated under the broken windows paradigm in New York, became a flashpoint for racial tension. Studies consistently showed that young Black and Latino men were stopped at vastly higher rates than their white counterparts, often without resulting in an arrest or the discovery of a weapon. This eroded trust between police and the communities they served, creating a cycle of resentment and hostility that can itself be a barrier to effective law enforcement. The critique goes that the theory mistakes correlation for causation in another way. Perhaps disorder and crime are both symptoms of the same root cause: deep-seated structural problems like poverty, systemic racism, lack of economic opportunity, and failing social services. Attacking the symptom, the broken window, without addressing the disease may offer only a superficial and morally costly fix. Furthermore, the theory's psychological mechanisms have been scrutinized. Subsequent research has questioned the universality of the disorder leads to crime sequence. Some studies suggest that the relationship is more complex and that residents often distinguish between social disorder, like public drinking or loud groups, and physical disorder, like broken windows and graffiti. The perception of crime risk may be more heavily influenced by social cues. Also, what constitutes disorder is highly subjective and culturally specific. Is a vibrant street with people socializing a sign of health or a sign of troubling disorder? The theory can be used to justify the criminalization of poverty and the enforcement of a narrow, often middle-class, vision of public order. In recent years, the conversation around broken windows has evolved. Many cities facing public pressure have moved away from strict zero-tolerance models. There is a growing emphasis on procedural justice, which focuses on the legitimacy of police actions and community partnership, and on harm reduction strategies. The core insight of the theory, that environment shapes behavior, is now often applied in a different, less punitive context. This is sometimes called the fix the window or cure violence approach. It acknowledges that physical and social disorder are problems that degrade quality of life and can foster fear, but it addresses them through community investment, rapid graffiti removal, better street lighting, park maintenance, and social programs, rather than through aggressive policing and mass arrests. This approach seeks to achieve the order that Wilson and Kelling described, but by strengthening the community from within, not by imposing control from the outside through force. The legacy of the broken windows theory is therefore a divided one. It provided a powerful, intuitive framework that changed how we think about the link between urban environment and human behavior. It shifted policy focus toward the small details of community life and the importance of maintaining norms. Yet, its implementation exposed deep fault lines in society regarding justice, race, and the role of police. The theory stands as a potent reminder that ideas about order and control have real-world consequences, both intended and unintended. It forces us to ask difficult questions. What kind of public order do we want? Who defines it? And at what cost is it achieved? The story of the broken window is ultimately a story about signals, power, and the perpetual struggle to build safe and just communities.